Okay, so there's going to be a huge caveat for this video. Apparently the leak provider got the Detective Conan volume instead of Jujutsu Kaisen, or he forgot about it or something, I don't know. Which means that we're not going to be getting the spoilers like we normally do until tomorrow. But for now, we do have possibly one of the bigger elements of the chapter, I suppose, and that's what I'm going to be talking about in this video. But let me just put that out there that, yeah, this isn't going to be like the normal spoiler video. I'm going to have to make that tomorrow. But we only really have one thing to go off of, so let's get into it. And that's apparently Hakari gets mentioned in this chapter. Let me also say that it's unconfirmed currently, but it's coming from a reputable Twitter account. So, they're only really going off of what they were able to get. So, take it with a grain of salt. But considering that we are in the, I guess, final act of Jujutsu Kaisen at this point, Hakari has to show up sooner or later, right? So since Hakari is going to be the topic of this video, I might as well go into him as much as I can and also correct myself from the previous time I talked about Hakari on the channel. It was in my Geji interview video, and I mistakenly brought up the wrong translation for Hakari's name. I put his name into Google, and all I could find on Google is like the Maori translation. I guess I just didn't go deep enough. Stupid me, I wasn't looking for the Japanese one. But anyway, the cliff notes on Hakari are he's a third year, believed to be as good as Gojo, but I think it actually says on the page that he has the potential to be good as Gojo, and we don't know what his curse technique is yet. But we can go deeper than that because we actually got some extra info on Hakari in the Jujutsu Kaisen fan book. So I was able to get a translation on Hakari's page, and I'm just going to go off of it right now. So the question was, please tell us Hakari's full name and what's the origin of his name. So Geji says it's Hakari Kinji, he's a gambler. Question, he looks a bit older, did he repeat a year? And Geji says no, he didn't. And then the last question is, please tell us if there's any information that can be disclosed. And he says Hakari was transferred to Kyoto during the Hyakki-Gyoko, which is the night parade of 100 demons, the thing that happens in volume 0. He got into a disagreement with the conservatives. I guess that means the higher ups. He beat the hell out of them and got suspended from school. So that's interesting. That's the reason why he was suspended. When they were talking about Hakari, and I think chapter 10 or 11, one of those, they said that he couldn't participate in the Kyoto Goodwill event because he was suspended, but we just didn't know at the time why that was. And apparently it's because he beat up some conservatives, which may or may not be the higher ups. I think it is. So I guess that's enough insight into Hakari to let us know that he's likely going to be on the side of the sorcerers, or at least, the main group of sorcerers, mainly like the Gojo faction, we'll say. So now I guess we can go back into what Geji said about Hakari in his interview from a couple weeks ago. So he explained that while he would like to introduce Kinji Hakari to the series, the way his technique works might not align with things and cause some outrage. The creator didn't elaborate on what this outrage could mean, but he did mention that Hakari's power has to do with his name. Due to Hakari loosely translating to scales, or having to do with balance, fans have taken this to theorize that Hakari's curse technique might just be too overpowered for the series. It would make sense considering he's a student who Gojo believes can fight on par with him someday, and could explain why he believes it will cause an outrage with fans. So he says it has something to do with his name. And if we go back to what we were talking about earlier with, him talking about the origin of Hakari's name in the fan book, he says because he's a gambler. And we could go more into that, but just his full name, Hakari Kinji, apparently it could mean a few things, meaning like scales in the sense of weighing, time, gold. So in a way, I guess they could all relate to gambling. And I guess it's possible that could give us some insight into what his curse technique could be. And apparently, or at least the hype indicates that it's going to be something pretty broken. So what would that be? So scales and weighing, you'd think, okay, so manipulating the weight of something or a person. And I guess it could be broken in theory if used to an extreme degree, like almost to like a gravity extent. Like, you can just use your curse technique on somebody and then just make them weigh 1,000,000 pounds or something, and then they just can't move anymore. Or he can make himself weigh nothing and then he could fly or float or something like that. Very possible, I suppose, but doesn't it seem like Geji would probably go for something more fantastical than that, given the way that the curse techniques are in the series, especially when we get to the higher tiers of power. But I think maybe the gambling thing is the biggest hint that we're getting here, because maybe it has something to do with his technique. And if you follow One Punch Man, or if you follow my coverage on One Punch Man, you'll know that I'm a big fan of the character King. And while it's not confirmed that the character has this ability, in my opinion, it's very much implied that King has like a probability or just straight up luck manipulation ability. Meaning that like the events that happen in the world that directly correlate to King himself will always kind of manipulate in a way that will favor King. So it's possible that Hakari might have something similar to this. I'm not gonna say he has straight up meta luck, because then he's, I guess, unbeatable at that point, but he could have some kind of probability manipulation or just some kind of luck ability. And I could totally see Geji having a lot of fun trying to explain that in the most unnecessarily complicated way as possible, like what he does with a few of the other curse techniques that can just be easily explained otherwise. Or the third option, I guess, is he can manipulate time. And that would make it understandable why that would have some kind of outrage, because even me just thinking about a character having that ability, let alone not a villain having that ability, it's already like, okay, so I guess they're the strongest and unbeatable to an extent. I mean, it wouldn't make me angry, but I could see how it would make other people angry or have outrage if his curse technique was just time manipulation. And then that also would make sense to why he would be the successor to Gojo and is also placed in the same tier as Okkotsu. But yeah, those are all that I can think of now. I'm sure a lot of you have some crazy Hakari theories out there, and I'd love to hear them in the comments. But other than everything we know about Hakari and what we can speculate about him, why would they be talking about him in this chapter? Well, like I said, we're coming to the end of Jujutsu Kaisen, and he has to come in sooner or later, but also, we're coming to the culling game. So I guess they're trying to accumulate all of the allies and get all of their forces together as much as they can at this point. Because I assume the culling game is going to involve just, the culmination of all of the characters in the series, right? Or just, it's going to be like the final battle in a way. So I guess they're thinking like, okay, who can we get? Who's available? Oh, hey, Hakari. Where is he? He would probably help us out at this point. Isn't he supposed to be on the same tier as Okkotsu or something? Let's go try to get him. And then I could see a story branching out of this is them just trying to track down Hakari, and that's how we get introduced to him, by them trying to recruit him for this one final team to go against Kenjaku and his forces. But yeah, I guess that's it for now. I wish I could talk more about this, but like I said, we can only go off of so much for right now. But please subscribe, because apparently tomorrow we're going to be getting the normal spoilers, so I will make a video then. And if you liked the video, guys, please give it a like. Have a great day, and I'll see you in the next one.